Hey guys, welcome back with another video. This time I'm going to be doing Queza, Augur of Agonies. This deck is a challenge build for me that me and my friends are doing. I bought the Esper precon that came, I believe this is the commander to it originally. Um, and I switched it out for Queza. Now the ruling is we had a $40 limit on what we can switch out for the deck. So you'll see some weirdness to the formatting and stuff like that. I was trying to figure out if there's a way to move the sideboard up to the main board, but basically the main board is the cards that I kept from the precon, and the sideboard is what I added in. Now with a $40 limit, I found it pretty tough to switch an entire precon over to a commander that really isn't built for the precon, but surprisingly, these precons in this set have decent removal, ramp, and different things like that. So I'm hoping that when I go to playtest this does good. But I figured I'd share it with you guys. So I'm gonna go ahead now. Queza is one colorless, white, blue, black Esper commander. It is a legendary creature, a Cephalid Advisor, which is pretty interesting creature type. There's not many cephalids really in the format, um, and it plays as a 3/4. It says whenever you draw a card, target opponent loses one life and you gain one life. So this commander isn't anything too special compared to a lot of other commanders that are already in this set. That already exist in Magic. A lot of people relate this towards Necrozar or Oloro, I believe it is, which is the life gain guy that works from the command zone. But I like how Queza works. I like that, yeah, Necrozar is good, but I like that this has white in it to be able to do some other shenanigans. There is life gain, so you could always do different things with the life gain, and it's whenever you draw a card, which you'll see there's a lot of good cards with. Now, like I said before, keep in mind I only had $40 to switch all the cards out with, so there are going to be some cards that are going to look like they're not so great. It's just what it is for now. I plan on switching out some cards and upgrading it in the future. Now, I left 5 creatures from the precon into the build that I'm doing. Chasm Stalker, which is 2 colorless, 1 blue. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Chasm Stalker. Skulker, my bad. Chasm Skulker. And when it dies, you create X11 blue squid creature tokens with Island Walk, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on Chasm Skulker. That's going to be fun to say if I can't say it now. So, draw a bunch of cards. That's the whole point of the deck. This guy gets big, put out a bunch of squids, and hopefully clean up. Like I said, I think this is the precon commander originally. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature can't be blocked this turn. It connives, and then you choose another attacking creature with lesser power, and that creature gains double strike until the end of turn. So connives is a new keyword in this set. It is to have a creature connive, you draw a card, then you discard a card, and if it's a non-land card, you put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. So I thought conniving works really good with it, but I like how Queza is worded a little more. I think it leads to a more interesting build overall. Looter Il Core, colorless, 1 blue, has shadow, so it can't be blocked unless something has shadow, and it can't block unless something that it's blocking has shadow. Whenever it deals combat damage to an opponent, draw a card, then discard a card. So, just another thing to get through, deal a little bit of damage, draw. Nadir Kraken, colorless 2 blue. Whenever you draw a card, you may pay 1. If you do, you put a +1/+1 counter on Kraken and create a 1/1 blue tentacle creature token. So this is another one that's really helpful. There's some instant speed draw in the deck. I could instant draw a few cards, pump whatever mana I'm not using into this, get out a few tentacles, and this could get out of hand very fast. Or I could use it as a good blocker to help out. Shadow Mage Infiltrator is 1 colorless, 1 blue, 1 black. It has fear, so it can't be blocked except by artifact creatures or black creatures. It is a 1/3 that whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. So just a nice, easy to get through draw engine. Sorceries, I only kept 2 in the deck. I kept austere command. Always mess up words. Anyway, it's 4 colorless, 2 white. You choose 2. You destroy all artifacts, all enchantments, all creatures with mana value 3 or less, or destroy all creatures with mana value 4 or greater. So I kept this in here because our commander is a 4, so I can destroy all creatures less than 3 and do something else if I would like, which we could always choose based on the situation what's threatening us more. And then Treasure Cruise, it's 7 colorless, 1 blue. You could devel, so you could exile cards from your graveyard to reduce the 7 down to all the way down to 1 if you would like. And you get to draw 3 cards. So makes perfect sense with the deck. We're going to have a lot in the graveyard we're not really utilizing right now. So that's a good way to just get some draw. Change of Plans is a new card in the precon. It's X, 1 colorless, 1 blue. Each of the X target creatures you control connive, and then they phase out. You may have any number of them phase out. So this is a good protection in case someone goes to board wipe. I can also draw a lot of cards off of it if I have a few creatures to connive. It's just a very good card. I'm not sure how it's all going to play out, but I mean, for 5 or 6 mana, I could protect the creatures I care about, draw cards, put +1 counters on them, so I kept it in here. Commit in Memory. Commit is an overpriced card. It's 3 colorless, 1 blue. Put target spell or non-land permanent into its owner's hand, second from the top. And Memory is each player shuffles his or her hand and graveyard into their library, then draws 7 cards. With us drawing a ton of cards, if someone somehow fills up my graveyard too much, I don't want to get milled out. So I kept this in here basically as the aftermath to help out. Lethal Scheme is 2 colorless, 2 black. You can convoke it so you could tap untap creatures you control to reduce the cost. You destroy a creature or planeswalker, and then each creature that convoked gets to connive. So it's a kill spell that also draws us cards. So exactly what we're looking for. Obscura Confluence is 1 colorless, white, blue, black. Is a new instant in this set. You choose 3, and you may choose 1 mode more than once. So you can either make it so target creature loses all abilities and has a base power and toughness of 1. You can have a creature connive, or you can have target player return a creature card from their graveyard to their hand. It's kind of interesting that you get to pick the creature. It doesn't have to be yours, but obviously, if we're conniving or returning a creature, I would like to use it on myself. And if I need to, I can always use the top part to shut down somebody if they're going for a win. And Swords to Plowshares. 1 white, exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. Just one of the best spells to get rid of something. Down to the artifacts. Like I said, it's had a pretty good mana base. I think I removed 1, maybe 2 artifacts out of this. But Arcane Signet's 2, taps for 1 color in our commander's identity. Azorius Signet, you pay 1, tap it, you get a white and a blue. Dimir, same thing, but blue and black. There's an Orzhov Signet that's white and black, and then Soul Ring. So, pretty standard. We have a Swiftfoot Boots. Equipped a creature gets hexproof and haste. Pretty sure everybody who's seeing this video has seen that, so nothing special there. And then we have 2 new cards. We have Mask of Riddles, is blue-black equipment. Equipped creature has fear, so very good. It's very easy to get through on someone if you have fear on your creature. And whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Just a very good card to get some draw off and help protect to get some damage through. Mask of the Schemer is also a new one. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, it connives X, where X is the amount of damage it dealt to that player. Whenever it deals combat damage. How's our commander worded? I don't think that works with the command. No. Because that's not the one dealing the damage. Anyway, it's just good draw. You're going to be able to put +1 counters on it if you would like. And you'll see that there's some cards that we want to dig into and get out there as fast as we can. Enchantments, there's 2 blue, in 2 deep, as split second. You can enchant a creature, planeswalker, or a clue. Not sure why the clue is on there, but you can, I guess. Enchanted Permanent is a colorless clue artifact with 2 tap it, sacrifice this artifact, draw a card, and it loses all other abilities. So this is a pretty brutal card, and it's going to be one that is going to be hard to get around. I could see this being a pretty big staple in the future, just because for 2 blue you could shut someone down, and if they don't have a way to get rid of that enchantment at instant speed, they're going to be done for. They can always sacrifice it, and if it's their commander, bring it back, but it's still going to cost them resources, and it's going to help you out. Life Insurance is a new card in here too. It's 3 colorless, 1 white, 1 black. It has Exort, so whenever you cast a spell, you may pay 1 white or black. If you do, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain that much life. So you pay 1 white or pay 1 black. Each opponent loses 1 life. You're most likely going to gain 3 if you're playing a 4-player match. And whenever a non-token creature dies, you lose 1 life and create a treasure token. So this is really nice just because if other people are using sacrifice strategies, if their creatures are just dying, if things are going on, if they're a threat and people are killing them, we're going to lose 1 life and gain a treasure, which 1 life is nothing. As you know, our commander gains us life, so we're not too worried about that. And Smuggler's Share, at the beginning of, it's a 2 colorless, 1 white enchantment. At the beginning of each end step, draw a card for each opponent who drew 2 or more cards this turn. Then create a treasure token for each opponent who had 2 or more lands enter the battlefield under their control this turn. People love to draw extra cards, and people love to play extra lands or throw extra lands down. So this is just a really good card to help you get free value while they're doing that stuff, just like most of the other popular enchantments that are really popular in the format. The land base for it, like I said, is pretty good. As you can see, there's some tapped lands, dual lands that could enter untapped. There's some that could change into things. I feel like all of these lands were pretty good and worth keeping in here. I did remove a couple, but a couple of the lands in here were like fetch lands. I didn't really see a point in it if you're already going to have a good dual land base, and I could add a couple in. So I removed some of those. And it's in alphabetical order right now. This is the sideboard. This is the, I think it's $39.27 I added to the deck. So I'll try to make this video a little shorter than my last one, and I'll try to go through these pretty fast. Almaret's Archive is a 5-cost legendary artifact. Whenever you would gain life, gain twice. Whenever you would draw a card except for the first one, draw 2 instead. So very nice ability to gain additional life, draw additional cards. Azorius Chancery is a bounce land. This is just easy ramp that helps us out. Body of Knowledge is power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in your hand, and it gives you no maximum hand size. And whenever it's dealt damage, you draw that many cards. So very good blocker, attacker that helps us with our maximum hand size. Borrowing 100,000 Arrows. Draw a card for each tapped creature target opponent controls. So if people are playing token decks, is very popular with the precons and different stuff like that. If they go ahead and they swing out at someone else, I could play this, draw 5, 6 cards maybe. I think it's just a good draw engine card that if someone gets out of hand, I might be able to draw, who knows, 10, 20 cards and maybe wipe somebody out with my commander on the field. Brainstorm, draw 3, then put 2 from your hand on top of your library in any order. It's one of the best draw spells in the format. Counter spell, counter target spell. Dimir Aqueduct is another bounce land, this one blue-black. Dream Trawler is a card that used to be very, very popular and very, very good a long time ago in Standard when I was playing, but doesn't see much play in Commander from what I've seen. It's 2 colorless, 2 white, 2 blue, flying, lifelink, 3/5. Whenever you draw a card, Dream Trawler gets +1/+0 until the end of turn. Whenever it attacks, you draw a card, and if you discard a card, it gains hexproof until the end of turn, and you tap it. So this is just very nice. If someone tries to kill it, I can give it hexproof, which is very nice. I'm already drawing cards, so this is going to get very buff. And when it attacks, I draw a card, which is going to give it another +1/+0. Elixir of Immortality is a 1-drop artifact. You pay 2, tap it, gain 5 life, and shuffle your graveyard into its owner's hand. Life gain is very good in this deck. We have a couple ways to utilize that. Plus, if we shuffle our graveyard back, it's better for us to be able to draw more cards and eventually end up killing somebody. Emergency Powers, 5 colorless, 1 white, 1 blue instant. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their libraries, then draws 7 cards, and you exile emergency powers. If you cast it during your main phase, you may put a permanent with converted mana cost 7 or less from your hand onto the battlefield. I'm not sure how much I'm going to use the second ability, but again, instant speed, put our graveyard back into our library, helps us not get milled out, plus draw 7 cards at instant speed. We can always do this at our opponent's end step right before it comes to our turn, so that way they don't utilize it, but we're able to. Epicure of Blood, 4 colorless, 1 black. Whenever I gain a life, each opponent loses 1. Essence Pulse. This is the one that I was really excited to put in here, because at the beginning of our turn, we're going to gain a life before we would play this. So Essence Pulse is 3 colorless, 1 black sorcery. You gain 2 life, and then each creature gets -X until the end of turn, where X is the amount of life you've gained this turn. So with our commander out, we're going to draw for our first draw per turn. We play this, and it's basically going to give every creature -3 until the end of turn, which won't kill the commander, but will most likely wipe out a large portion of the board. And if our commander isn't out, we could do different things to gain more life. If we don't care about our commander, we have to wipe the board. We can always just go hard, gain a couple of draws, gain some more life, and then use this. Flump, I believe is how you pronounce it. It's 1 colorless, 1 white. It's a jellyfish defending flyer that whenever it's dealt damage, you and target opponent each draw a card. I figure having a defending flyer is pretty good. I might be able to utilize this for people to attack me so that I could deal damage to other people. Plus, me drawing cards is always going to be better than other people drawing cards with how this deck is formatted. Fractures, 1 white, 1 black, destroy target artifact, creature, enchantment, or planeswalker. Artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker, not creature. Sorry. But just a really good removal spell, especially with the fact that this is a precon upgrade. I know there's at least one other person using the same precon to start off with, so they're also going to have that 2-drop blue enchantment. I want to have something to be able to answer that. Keep Safe, 1 colorless, 1 blue, counter target spell that targets a permanent you control and you draw a card. We need to protect our commander, and we get a draw from it. It's exactly what we're looking for. Kumina's Awakening is 2 colorless, 2 blue enchantment. It has Ascend, so if you control 10 or more permanents, you get the City's Blessing for the rest of the game. If you don't have the City's Blessing, at the beginning of your upkeep, each player draws. If you do have the City's Blessing, only you get a draw. So it's very nice to put out there. People are not likely to destroy it right off the bat if you don't already have the City's Blessing. And then afterwards, it's just going to be a free draw per turn, which is always going to be nice for us. Marauding Blood Priest, 2 colorless, 1 black. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1. So just trying to utilize as much of this to drain our opponents as fast as we can. Min, Wily Illusionist, 1 colorless, 2 blue. It is a legendary gnome wizard. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, you create a 1/1 blue illusionary creature token that gets +1/+0 for each other illusion you control. And whenever an illusion you control dies, you get to put a permanent with converted mana cost less than or equal to that creature's power from your hand onto the battlefield. So it's nice to be able to get a good blocker, good swinger out there. People are not going to want to trade with a lot of these if it would trade on their creatures or if theirs would just die. They don't want you to be able to put a permanent from your hand onto the battlefield for free, which it's basically just there to help us out. I really wanted to build this as a commander, and I never got around to it, so I figured it's a pretty good fit. Negate, counter target non-creature spell. Notion Thief, hoping this one's going to do some good work in this deck. It's 2 colorless, 1 blue, 1 black, flash, 3/1, human rogue. If an opponent would draw a card except for the first one he or she draws in each of his or her steps, instead that player skips that draw and I draw. So this could be really good if another person plans on building Connive or anything else inside their deck. I know there's another flyer that gives X Connives, or if someone goes to use a big draw spell, I can go ahead and flash this out. I'm going to get all the draws off of it. I'm going to hit somebody. If I'm gaining life and I have other things out, I'm going to drain more people. I'm going to get some hate for this one, but I'm hoping that I'm able to use this at a time where I'm able to close out the game and or close out at least a person from the game. Ominous Seas, 1 colorless, 1 blue enchantment. Whenever you draw a card, you force shadow counter on it. Whenever you have 8, you may remove it and create an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token. It's really nice because if we're drawing a bunch, we could throw 1 million on this thing. It is instant speed to create the 8/8 Kraken, which is important to remember. You could do it right before your turn starts and use them as attackers. If someone goes to swing at you and they're not paying attention, you can create an 8/8 Kraken right in their face and block that creature. It's a very good card. Onirphage? Onirphage is a 3 colorless 1 blue creature squid illusion. It's a flying 1/2 that whenever you draw a card, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. I've used this card in a few decks. I really enjoy it. I just like having a flyer that gets bigger. Plus, it's a squid, so hard to deny putting that in a deck. Ormus, Archive Keeper, 4 colorless, 2 blue. This card, I'm very glad it's only 35 cents because this could really help us out. It's a legendary creature, Sphinx. It's a 5/5 flyer that if I were to draw a card while there's no card in your library, instead you put 5 +1/+1 counters on him. And then you may pay 1 colorless, 2 blue, discard 3 cards with different names, and draw 5 cards. Probably not going to utilize that bottom part much at all, unless I really need to. Really, it's in there because if I don't have a way to shuffle back my graveyard because of everything happening and I draw out my entire library, then this guy will just get big. I won't end up losing because this replaces the draw, so I'll never truly draw my library out. And then I could take somebody out with a giant flyer. Orzhov Ballistica is another bounce land. Peer into the Abyss is one of the finishers that's in this deck that I had laying around. Target player draws cards equal to half the number of cards in their library and loses half their life, rounded up each time. So it is a lot. It's 4 colorless, 3 black, but we're able to use this on us. We draw half of our library and we get to gain all that life. We get to target someone to do that all. This card's amazing already, and in this deck it's even better. Psychosis Crawler, 5 colorless horror that's a star. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in my hand. And whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. So this is a really good one to have out with the commander just to hurt people more. Reliquary Tower gives you maximum hand size. Roadside Reliquary, it's a colorless land. You could pay to tap it, and you could draw a card if you have an artifact, and if you have an enchantment, you draw a card also. So we run a lot of artifacts and a lot of enchantments in this deck. This is just a nice draw engine if I need to throw out there, and eventually we'll be at the point where we're drawing so many. We put a few artifacts out there. We might be fine getting rid of this land. Sanguine Bond, 3 colorless, 2 black. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Commander out, this is going to be a really good card. Shabraz, the Sky Shark, is a legendary shark bird, 3 colorless, white, blue, 3/3. It's partnered with Berlin Shark Rider, Sky Shark Rider, that he deals with discarding. This guy deals with drawing, so whenever you draw a card, you put a +1/+1 counter on him, and you gain 1 life. So with him and the commander out, this is really going to help us out a ton. Plus, again, it's a big, beefy flyer that's just going to eventually block something big for us, wipe a whole team out. I'm hoping that this is one of the better cards. And then you can actually utilize the partner if you would like, because even though we don't have the partner in there, he still gets the trigger to search for it. You're able to shuffle your library. So if for some reason you know what card's on top or you know what card's underneath and you really want to get that card back up top, you can utilize this. Slash the Ranks, 3 colorless, 2 white. Destroy all creatures and planeswalkers except for commanders. Although a lot of cards that we really care about are not our commander is the most important card in this deck for us. So this is just really nice if everybody's getting out of hand. We could just go ahead and wipe them out, simplify the board down to just our commanders, and then I'm most likely going to have the one with the most useful commander at that point. That'll lead us to hopefully an easy, straightforward win. Sig River Cutthroat, another one I really wanted to build as a commander deck, but I just didn't have too much fun with the blue-black combination, aiming towards like a CEDH power. It's pretty bland, typical decks. But Sig River Cutthroat, blue-black, legendary Merfolk Rogue. Whenever, at the beginning of each end step, if an opponent lost 3 or more life this turn, you may draw a card. So you put him out here while your opponents are attacking each other. Maybe they're losing life because they're drawing or doing different things. You're going to get free draw. Tainted Indulgence, 1 blue, 1 black, instant, draw 2 cards, then discard a card unless you have 5 or more mana value amongst cards in your graveyard. You're never going to mind discarding a card in this deck, but drawing 2 at instant speed is the more important part of this. Teferi's Ageless Insight, 2 colorless, 2 blue, legendary enchantment. If you were to draw a card except for your first one in each of your draw steps, draw 2 instead. This is going to help out a ton. Teferi's Tutelage, 2 colorless, 1 blue. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card, and then you discard a card. Whenever you draw a card, you pick an opponent, and they mill 2 cards. So this is really nice. If you're drawing, if you peer into the abyss yourself, you might be able to mill out an entire person out of the game. Not to mention, peg someone else for 40 or so life. Really help out. Thirst to Discovery, Knowledge, and Meaning all do the same thing. They're all 2 colorless, 1 blue. You draw 3 cards. And then Thirst of Discovery just says you discard 2 cards unless you discard a basic land. Knowledge says artifact, and Meaning says enchantment. We have plenty of all of those in this deck. Thirst of Discovery especially. We're not going to ever mind discarding a basic land. Thought Vessel, 2 colorless. You could tap it for 1 colorless. You have no maximum hand size. We have a couple ways to win and do stuff. They're about to come up here in about a millisecond. That it really matters if we have our hand size. Triscodectophobia is 1 colorless, 1 blue. You have no maximum hand size. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have exactly 13 cards in your hand, you win the game. So, very important that this card was in there. It's only around $1, so it's a nice inclusion. If our commander does die, we could start working towards something like this and trying to set ourselves up for a win. I thought it was important in a budget build, especially when we're going this low, and while my commander deck is switching so many cards out, that I have a chance at just closing out the game if the game goes on too long. And then Triscodectophobia, 3 colorless, 1 black. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose one. Each player with exactly 13 life loses, and then each player gains 1 life, or each player with exactly 13 life loses the game, and then each player gains 1 life, or loses 1 life on the second one. So you just choose whichever one is going to get another person closer to the number 13. This is not something you're really going to be able to control too much, other than by using your commander to lower somebody. It is untap, upkeep, draw, which is important. We won't be able to draw the card before this trigger happens. So we need to make sure that we could do an instant speed to lower someone to 13 before our upkeep. And same thing with Triscodectophobia. You won't draw before your upkeep trigger. So you want to make sure you have 13 cards in your hand when you go to start your turn when you untap. Which is pretty easy. There's instant speed draw. This card has draw on the bottom of it. If you have Teferi's Ageless Insight and other things out, it's really going to help you out. So I figured it was important to add these two to really help out, have an additional chance of winning the game. Veto, Thorn of the Dusk Rose. Whenever it's 2 colorless, 1 black, legendary vampire cleric. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. So this is going to be, we draw our card for turn, we gain a life, target opponent loses a life. Because we gained a life, we make target opponent lose that much life. So it's going to help out. We're going to have a lot of triggers, hopefully, where maybe I'll have Veto, Psychosis Crawler, Epidir out, and be able to start hitting people widely and start targeting people down when I need to. Whispering Madness, 2 colorless, 1 blue, 1 black, sorcery. Each player discards his or her hand and then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way. It also has Cipher. This is a really nice one because we have maximum hand size in most situations, so we can really set ourselves up. We could have 20 cards in our hand and force our opponents to draw an additional 20 cards, which might seem like a bad thing, but with something like Teferi's Tutelage out, we'll be able to mill people. It's also a way to draw a ludicrous amount with our commander out and hopefully kill somebody. Windfall, 2 colorless, 1 blue, sorcery. Each player discards his or her hand, then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards discarded this way. It's going to be me in almost all situations, so these two are really just going to help our commander deal a ton of damage. And then Wizard class. It is 1 blue enchantment. The first level is you have no maximum hand size, which is very important for this deck. 2 colorless, 1 blue, you get to draw 2 cards. Just very nice. And 4 colorless, 1 blue, whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. If you're able to get this out early in the game, this could be really nice. If you're able to upgrade that, you could start putting +1 counters on the commander to help out. We have different ways, obviously, like you've seen, to get the commander through. So you could really build up any of these creatures and get them through. But so far, when I've used this card, I've noticed I keep it at level 1. I move it to level 2 when I need to draw an additional 2 cards. So I'm not sure how much I'll utilize the bottom one, but if I have nothing going on, then I don't see that being such a bad thing. So this is the deck right now. These are the 45 cards that I added into here to make the deck a little bit better, in my opinion. It was $40 upgrading again, and all of these cards I already owned in my collection. So I did not go out of my way to pick up a single one of these cards. So I will maybe make an update video after I play it a few times and let you guys know what I think of the deck. And when I go and actually do a full upgrade of it, I will also let you guys know to see if maybe there's some better cards. Maybe there's some weak cards that really weren't doing anything for me. Not to mention that, obviously, if I have a no price limit on it, $300 could do a lot of work for this deck. So I appreciate you guys watching the video. If you want to leave a like, comment, let me know what you think of this commander. Do you play it? How do you feel this compares to other commanders in the color identity? And what other precon commanders do you guys like? I would consider building another deck for one of the other precons. I know that Toolbox and a couple others looked interesting, but I'm curious to see what you guys think. So I appreciate your guys' time. I'll see you on the next one.